Sorry, you just said something. Getting all the assistance they need on merit.
On merit, yes.
On merit.
Yes.
Because Speaker, Tajuddin Abbas, he called for more access to quality and affordable education.
Mr. Yori, education for me is the primary, the basis. I was going to talk more on this. Thank God you brought it up. A nation that is not investing in education enough. I mean, the UNESCO percentage put it at 13% of the annual budget. For a country like Nigeria, we need way more than that. We need maybe around 20% of or 25% of the annual budget going into education. I listened to Dr. Sam Adeyemi talking a few weeks ago about, we had young people who are writing exams with no power supply, with candles in the middle of the night, and that was enough to bring, a complete lockdown of that system so that those issues are resolved from the grassroots. We can't have a nation that does not make the young people look forward to education as something. And then we have somebody, coming to make a mess of young people because he believes that, education is a scam. And so he got, his means and his resources without going through the academic route. Those are not the narratives we want our young people to see. We want a government that believes. I was shocked just a few days ago. I was watching a program, and then this woman said, during a previous administration, administration, not any of the last two, a young man was sent to the US, courtesy of the government, to go and further his studies. These were first-class brains. And then he got there, started the program. For whatsoever reason, there was a change in administration, and they could not continue to get resources, to continue with the program. The young man dropped out of that college in the US, and then went into doing Uber work. And in the course of doing Uber work, he picked somebody who, for whatever, he had an altercation, shot him, and then he landed in the hospital, had multiple surgeries, was basically a vegetable on wheelchair, and then they were moving him from place to place. Now, this was a young man who was a brilliant, shining star in this country, was sent there to go and become better as an academician, as an inventor, as an innovator, and then the system, there's no continuity to say, oh, we have, brilliant chaps out there. Let's continue the program, irrespective of the change in administration. So those are the kind of investments beyond, timelines that we advocate for. Investing in education in our people, both here locally and then internationally.
And I'm sure you therefore will be sort of impressed with the educational loan that President Tinubu sort of resuscitated. Fantastic effort,
I would say. It's the first time in many, many years, I would say maybe more than 2 decades, where we have a ray of hope beaming on the Nigerian youth. The loan facility for young people is fantastic. I would really encourage that the administration keeps it going, monitors it, and ensure that it's effectively disbursed. But that effort is brilliant. I would give it up to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for doing that, and then the Minister of Education and even our Minister of Youth, Honorable Olawande. He's been amazing. I was in the room with him at Radisson Blue a few months ago, where he came to address some delegates of the National Economic Summit Group, and we could see the energy of a young Minister of Youth advocating for further investment in education, and then even reeling out the achievements of the administration. Those are the things that we look forward to seeing more of.
Okay. I'll take a quick break now. Do please stay with us. We'll be right back. Our guest is Dr. Joshua Oyeniyi. He's he's a youth, but he's also a youth to be proud of. He's CEO of Amborian, consultant, and he's a global awardee all the way from the US in, terms of his passion, his interest, which is development, especially from the youth. So in that sense, I feel that we're sort of lucky today to hear it from your point of view, because not all the youth, unfortunately, are making us proud. So when we do have some, and they are, dotted across the country, perhaps we don't even know. Perhaps it's even more than that. But you see, maybe not all of them come on out. So to that extent, I say kudos to you. The speaker, the Tajuddin Abbas, he's been urging youth to be patriotic, law-abiding citizens. That's sometimes youthful exuberance can, you know, take you where you don't need to be. How do you see this? Because I am sure that the Nigerian youth is entirely capable of achieving his own destiny once an enabling environment is, you know, put in front of him. I remember, and you would have heard stories of it, the Awolowo era and his attitude, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, his attitude towards education. Today you have so many academics, so many professionals that come and testify that had it not been for that, where I had absolutely nowhere else to go but the route of education, I would not be the professor that I am today. I would not be the head of department that I am today. Would you like to see a return to those days?
Oh, my goodness. Those are the days they call the good old days.
The good old days.
We hope those days will become existent again in our own time. You know, we hear those stories. We read those stories. But Mr. Oyeniyi, I will tell you that the average Nigerian youth, irrespective of the narrative you have on the street and on social media, is patriotic to this country. Yes, and I stand for that class to defend and to advocate for young people. I'll give you a very short story. When I got my first US visa in 2015 and traveled to the US to represent at that event, at that contest, when I was going to come back, I had, you know, some people who said, oh, okay, I mean, we came here for education, right? Why are you going back to Nigeria? You know, why not just stay back? Why not just, you know, appropriate this country for your own good and all that? And I told them, I said, no, Nigeria is where, you know, where I'm going to be. I love this country. I love Nigeria, and I would go back. I'm not going to stay back. I'm not going to violate the visa rule. I will go back, even if there were other legitimate means of staying back. And I did come back, right? And I've been I've been privileged to visit that country a good number of times, right? But I would say that the average young person, I had a Nigerian friend, you know, in the U.S., first-class brain from Uniben, traveled, you know, over to the U.S. to study in Harvard, and then became an entrepreneur in that country. At the point, you know, he had a real estate company that had over 17 apartments, you know, that he was using for leases and rents and turning almost $1 million in revenue every year. You know, so there are amazing guys who are doing this just because of the system. But like you said, right, the pursuit should be, how do we continue to encourage investment in education, in innovation, in the creative arts, in technology? Artificial intelligence is now, you know, the in thing. I was watching a program, I think it was the country of Botswana, that has a very huge, gigantic investment in helping young people to navigate into artificial intelligence. We have a vibrant, you know, tech community in Nigeria, tech, you know, population. Investing in those things, which again the administration is making a lot of effort in. Honorable Tunji of ICT, I mean, and all the other ministers putting in adequate, you know, diligent effort into enabling the young people to be able to diversify into their craft. So those are the kind of things that, you know, we believe in. But like you said, in finality, we look forward to those days where education is primarily the driving force of all of this innovation. Because an uneducated mind would not be able to explore the possibilities of the mind itself. Indeed. You know, so creating, you know, ability and opportunities for these young people to get into university. We have, when you have 1 million, 2 million, 3 million people trying to write UTME, and then you only have maybe 300,000 opportunities for them in universities. What happens to the remaining 1 million? What happens to the remaining 1.5? How do you appropriate their talent, you know, and make sure that they are able to contribute meaningfully with their God-given innate potential to the GDP of this nation? Because if you give those guys the abilities, you will be amazed how far Nigeria can go in 1 year.
I don't